The house didn't look cursed. That was the first lie. It sat at the end of Briarwood Lane, like it had been waiting. White paint, tall windows, a porch that sagged just enough to feel tired, not broken. The kind of place realtors call vintage charm, and locals call don't ask questions. Evan Carter killed the engine and just sat there, fingers tight on the steering wheel. The silence felt heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Yeah, he muttered to himself. This is definitely where bad decisions come to die. He checked the address again. Same number, same street, same knot crawling up his spine. After Chicago burned him out, another newsroom, another editor telling him to soften the truth. Evan had sworn he was done chasing ghosts. But ghosts had a funny way of finding him anyway, especially when they came wrapped in a cash offer he couldn't refuse. The woman who hired him never showed her face. Email only. Burner phone. Wrote like a lawyer, paid like a sinner. All I need is documentation, she'd said. History. Stories. What really happened in that house. No police reports. No public records. Just rumors. That alone should have told him to walk away. The front door creaked open before he even touched it. Evan froze. He hadn't knocked. The smell hit him first. Old wood, dust, something metallic, faint but sharp, like pennies soaked in rain. Hello? His voice echoed too much for a house that size. No answer. He stepped inside anyway, because curiosity had always been his worst habit. The floorboards groaned under his boots, each step sounding like complaint. The air felt colder inside, not drafty, intentional, like the house wanted him aware of it. The door slammed shut behind him. Evan jumped, heart slamming harder than the door had. Okay, he breathed. Funny. Real funny. He turned the knob. Locked. No deadbolt. No chain. Just locked. That's when he noticed the walls. They weren't just stained. They were marked. Scratches. Names. Dates. Some etched deep, like someone had pressed until their hands gave out. Others barely visible, like they'd been written in a hurry, or in fear. One name kept repeating. Margaret. Evan pulled out his phone, snapped photos, documenting automatically. Reporter brain. Evidence over emotion. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered without thinking. Yeah. You're inside, a woman's voice said calmly. Not asking. Stating. Evan swallowed. You watching me or something? A pause. Long enough to feel deliberate. You should leave before nightfall, she said. It gets louder after dark. The line went dead. Evan stared at the phone, pulse racing. Then he laughed, sharp and nervous. Great, he said to the empty house. Anonymous warnings. Love that for me. A sound came from upstairs. Not a creak. Not footsteps. Breathing. Slow. Wet. Right above his head. Evan backed up instinctively, spine hitting the wall. His flashlight flicked on, beam shaking as it cut up the staircase. The breathing stopped. Silence rushed in to fill the gap. Then a whisper slid down the stairs, soft but clear. You finally came back. Evan's mouth went dry. I've never been here. The whisper chuckled. That's what you said last time, too. The lights flickered, and somewhere deep in the house, something started screaming. Not human. Not entirely. Evan ran. Evan didn't remember tripping, but he hit the floor hard enough to knock the breath out of him. The scream cut off the second he went down, like something had flipped a switch. Silence again. That deep, watching silence. He pushed himself up, lungs burning, heart going feral in his chest. The flashlight beam jittered across the hallway, catching peeling wallpaper and doors that looked swollen, like they'd been breathing. Nope, he whispered. I'm not doing this. He bolted for the front door. It wasn't there. Not gone. Not destroyed. Just wrong. Where the door should have been was a wall. Same wallpaper. Same old stains. Like the house had never had an exit to begin with. Evan slapped the wall hard. Solid. Cold. What the hell is this? His voice cracked, and he hated that it did. Behind him, footsteps. Not rushing. Not chasing. Walking. Slow. Confident. He turned. A woman stood at the end of the hallway, mid-30s maybe, pale skin, hair pulled back too tight, like she didn't trust it to behave. She wore a faded blue dress that looked decades old, hem-frayed, sleeves stained darker around the wrists. Her eyes locked onto him. "You shouldn't run," she said. "It just makes you hungry." Evan swallowed. "Who are you?" She tilted her head, studying him like he was something half-remembered. "You really don't recognize me this time?" "This time?" he snapped. "Lady, I don't know you." Her expression flickered. Confusion, then sadness, then something sharper. "You always say that," she murmured. The lights overhead flickered again, buzzing low and angry. Evan edged sideways, keeping distance. "Listen, I don't know what game this is, but I'm leaving. Now." She smiled. It wasn't friendly. "You can't," she said. "You never do." A door slammed upstairs. Then another. Then another. The house came alive with noise. Footsteps running. Whispers crawling through the walls. Laughter that sounded wrong. Stretched in like tape about to snap. Evan backed up until his shoulders hit the wall again. "What is this place?" he asked, voice low. The woman's eyes softened just a little. "It's where they put us." "Who's us?" "People they didn't want to listen to." The temperature dropped fast. Evan could see his breath now, thin white clouds in the air. A child's voice drifted down the stairs. "Mama?" The woman flinched. Evan felt it in his gut. That word, that reaction. "Mama." The voice called again, closer now. The woman whispered, "Don't answer him." "Why?" Evan asked. Her jaw tightened. "Because he isn't a child anymore." Something small and fast darted across the hallway behind her. Evan barely caught it in the beam of his flashlight. Too tall to be a kid, too bent to be an adult. Its joints moved wrong, snapping into place with wet little pops. Evan gagged. Jesus Christ. The woman stepped closer, lowering her voice. "They kept us here in the 70s. Doctors, ministers, men in clean suits who said they were saving us." "Saving you from what?" She laughed bitterly. "From ourselves, from being inconvenient." Evan's phone buzzed again in his pocket. The woman's eyes snapped to it. "Don't answer that." He hesitated, then pulled it out anyway. Unknown number. Again. He answered. "Talk." "You're remembering too fast," the woman said on the line. Same voice from before. Evan's stomach dropped. He looked at the woman standing in front of him. He stopped. The woman in the hallway shook her head slowly. "That's not me." "Then who the hell are you?" Evan demanded into the phone. A sigh came through the speaker, almost disappointed. "I'm the one who stayed," the voice said. "Margaret left." "I didn't." The name hit him like a punch. Margaret, the scratches, the walls. The woman in front of him whispered, "She stole my name." The child, thing, laughed from the stairs. Evan felt something shift in his head, a pressure behind his eyes. Images flickered, fast and messy. A younger version of himself, standing in this same hallway, crying. A woman screaming his name. Not Evan. Something else. He dropped the phone. "Why do I feel like I've been here before?" he asked, barely audible. The woman stepped closer, eyes shining with something like relief. "Because you helped them." The house groaned, deep and satisfied. "What did I do?" Evan asked. She reached out and touched his arm. The moment her fingers made contact, the memories came rushing back. Blood on white tile, a clipboard, his signature, and a promise he never kept. Evan ripped his arm away like her touch burned. "No," he said, shaking his head hard. "That's not real. I've never been here. I remember this." The woman watched him with a kind of tired patience, like she'd seen this exact breakdown too many times to count. "You always say that too," she replied. The hallway warped around them, not melting, not bending, just tightening, like the house was pulling everything inward, drawing the walls closer, squeezing the air. Evan's head throbbed. Images slammed into his skull, without permission. A younger him, early 20s, nervous, clean cut, sitting across from men in suits who smiled without warmth. A contract sliding across a table. You'll be doing important work. Someone said, groundbreaking. A church logo stamped in the corner. No, Evan whispered. I was a journalist. I expose people like that. Yes, the woman said softly. After, the light snapped off. Total darkness. Something brushed past Evan's leg, low and fast. He kicked out instinctively and felt nothing solid, just air and a laugh that echoed too close to his ear. The lights flickered back on. The woman was closer now. Too close. Say her name, she urged. Evan clenched his fists. Margaret. The house responded. The walls shuddered, dust raining from the ceiling. Doors down the hall burst open one by one, revealing rooms frozen in time. A hospital bed with leather restraints. A pulpit with blood dried into the wood grain. A bathtub filled with dark water, and something pale floating just beneath the surface. Evan gagged and turned away, chest heaving. They called it therapy, the woman said. They called it God. A scream ripped through the house. Female, raw, furious. The sound tunneled straight into Evan's bones. I didn't do this, he said. I didn't hurt anyone. You watched, she snapped. The shift in her tone made him flinch. The sadness burned off, leaving rage sharp enough to cut. You took notes. You asked questions. You signed off when they said it was necessary. Evan's knees buckled. He grabbed the wall to stay upright, fingers digging into peeling wallpaper. I was a kid, he said. I didn't know what they were really doing. You knew enough, she said. Enough to walk away. A door slammed behind them. Evan spun around. The front door. Back where it belonged. Wide open. Daylight pouring in. His heart leapt. You said I couldn't leave. She followed his gaze, expression unreadable. You can. Relief flooded him, hot and desperate. He took a step toward the door. The woman grabbed his wrist. Just know this, she said. Every time you leave, someone else gets stuck. Evan froze. What do you mean? Her grip tightened. The house needs balance. A witness, a keeper, a believer. The child's laughter echoed again, closer now. Footsteps skittered across the ceiling. Evan yanked his arm free. I'm not staying. You never do, she said. He ran. The sunlight felt wrong on his skin, too bright, too clean. He stumbled down the porch steps and into the yard, gasping like he'd been underwater too long. The house behind him looked normal again. Quiet, empty. A for sale sign stood crooked in the grass. Evan collapsed onto the ground, laughing and crying at the same time. I'm out, he breathed. I'm done. His phone buzzed. He didn't want to answer it. He did anyway. You made it, the voice said. Evan closed his eyes. You lied to me. Yes, the woman on the phone replied. But you also lied to yourself. He sat up slowly. Where are you? A pause. Across the street. Evan looked up. A woman stood on the opposite sidewalk, wearing modern clothes, sunglasses hiding her eyes. Calm, solid, real. She lowered the phone and smiled. My real name is Margaret, she said, and you owe me. The house creaked behind him. The front door began to close. On its own. The front door slammed shut with a sound that rattled Evan's teeth. He spun around just in time to see the windows go dark, curtains snapping closed like eyelids. The house sealed itself tight and smug, like it knew something he didn't. Margaret crossed the street without urgency, heels clicking against the pavement. She moved like someone who had already won. You're not supposed to be out here, Evan said, standing up on shaky legs. You said you stayed. I did, she replied, just not the way you think. Up close, she looked normal. Late 30s, minimal makeup, professional. The kind of woman you'd trust with a password or a secret. That terrified him more than the ghosts inside the house ever had. You left me in there, Evan said. Margaret sighed. No, you left yourself. The air shifted. The street felt hollow now, like a set built too clean. Evan noticed the houses on either side were empty. No cars, no lights, no movement. This whole block, he started. Belongs to the foundation, Margaret finished. Always has. Something clicked in Evan's head. A memory surfaced, sharp and ugly. A donor gala. Red wine. White smiles. A banner behind the podium. The Briarwood Moral Reclamation Foundation. "Oh my God," Evan whispered. "You're still doing this." Margaret smiled thinly. "We never stopped." A low hum rolled through the ground beneath their feet. Evan felt it in his ribs, like standing too close to a generator. "The house isn't haunted," she said. "It's curated." Evan shook his head. "People are trapped in there." "Yes," Margaret said calmly, "because they belong there." The words landed wrong. Too rehearsed. "You used faith," Evan said. "You used therapy language. You broke people and called it salvation." Margaret's expression hardened. "We refine people." Behind them, the house groaned again. A face pressed briefly against one of the upstairs windows. Skin stretched thin, mouth open in a silent scream, before vanishing. Evan pointed. "You call that refined?" Margaret didn't look. "They volunteered." "That's bullshit." "They signed consent forms," she snapped. "You made sure of that." Evan flinched. Another memory cracked open. A clipboard in his hands. A trembling woman holding a pen. "This will help you." Evan heard himself say, in the memory, "You just need to trust the process." His stomach churned. "You were good at it," Margaret continued. "That's why they picked you. You made suffering sound reasonable." "I quit," Evan said. "I walked away." "You ran," she corrected. "And we needed someone to remember what we were." The ground trembled harder now. A crack split the pavement near Evan's feet, dark and deep. "What happens if I don't help you?" he asked. Margaret finally looked at the house. "It collapses," she said, "and everything inside it gets loose." A scream tore through the walls, louder than before. Multiple voices now, overlapping, angry. "You built a cage," Evan said, "and you're scared it won't hold." Margaret stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I'm scared you'll stop it from holding." She pulled something from her coat. A key. Old. Heavy. Rusted. "This opens a basement," she said. "The real basement, where the recordings are, where your name is on everything." Evan stared at it. "Why show me?" "Because the house listens to you," Margaret said. "It always has." The wind picked up suddenly, whipping dead leaves into a spiral around them. The house's front door creaked open again, just an inch. A voice slipped through the crack. Evan, not Margaret, not the child. Someone older, someone broken, someone who knew him. Evan's throat tightened. "Who is that?" Margaret's jaw clenched. "That's the one you promised come back for." The door opened wider. The darkness inside felt thick, heavy, waiting. Margaret pressed the key into Evan's palm and closed his fingers around it. "Go in," she said. "Fix what you started, or walk away again." Evan looked at the house, then at the key, then at Margaret. "If I go down there," he said, "I might not come back." Margaret smiled, cold and certain. "You didn't last time either." The house exhaled, and Evan stepped forward. The air inside the house felt heavier the second Evan crossed the threshold. The door shut behind him with a soft, deliberate click, like a lock being turned by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The key in his palm burned. Not hot, not painful, just aware. The hallway looked different now. Cleaner, straighter, like the house was remembering itself the way it wanted to be remembered. Margaret's voice echoed faintly from outside, muffled by walls and distance. "Basements through the kitchen." Evan didn't answer. He moved forward, each step careful, like the floor might give way if he showed too much confidence. The whispers followed him, brushing his ears, overlapping, repeating fragments of prayers and apologies. "I didn't mean to. They said it was God's will. Please don't write that down." The kitchen lights flickered on as he entered, revealing stainless steel counters and old tile floors scrubbed so clean they felt sterile. A camera hung in the corner of the ceiling, red light blinking. Still watching, he thought. The basement door sat at the far end of the room, painted the same white as the walls. No handle, just a keyhole. Evan knelt and slid the key in. It turned smoothly, too smoothly. The door opened inward, revealing concrete steps spiraling down into darkness. Cold air rushed up from below, carrying the smell of mold, iron, and something sweeter underneath. Rot, maybe, or memory. Evan descended. Each step down felt like pressure in his skull, like the house was pushing back, testing his resolve. The whispers grew louder the deeper he went, no longer random, directed. Remember, look, don't lie again. The basement lights snapped on all at once. Evan froze. Rows of shelves lined the walls, stacked with tapes. Hundreds of them. VHS, each labeled in neat handwriting. Names, dates, notes, subject compliant. Breakthrough achieved. Relapse expected. Evan's name appeared again and again. E. Carter, observer. E. Carter, interview. E. Carter, approval. No, he whispered. A television sat on a metal cart in the center of the room. On top of it, a single tape. The label read, Margaret, Session 12. His hands shook as he picked it up. You don't have to, a voice said behind him. Evan spun around. A man stood at the bottom of the stairs. Mid-40s. Gaunt. Eyes too tired to be angry anymore. His hospital gown hung loose on his frame, stained dark around the collar. Evan recognized him instantly. Oh my God, he breathed. Thomas. Thomas smiled faintly. You said you'd be right back. Evan's chest tightened. They told me you were transferred. They always said that, Thomas replied, right before things got worse. Evan looked at the tape in his hands. I didn't know they were killing people. Thomas's smile faded. You knew they were breaking us. A thud echoed above them. Heavy footsteps pacing the floor. They're waking up, Thomas said. The house doesn't like being reminded. Evan slid the tape into the player. The screen crackled to life. Margaret appeared on screen, younger, restrained to a chair. Blood trickled from her nose. Her eyes burned with defiance. You can't fix me, she said into the camera. You're just scared of what I remember. A younger Evan's voice came through the speakers. Calm, clinical. We're just trying to help you understand yourself. Present day, Evan flinched. Thomas watched him carefully. You believe that? The tape fast-forwarded on its own. Margaret screamed. Not once. Over and over. The screen went black. A door upstairs burst open. Footsteps ran. Too many. Thomas stepped back. They're coming down. Evan's heart pounded. We can get out. Together. Thomas shook his head slowly. No. Someone has to stay. The basement lights flickered. The walls trembled. Evan grabbed Thomas's arm. I owe you. Thomas met his eyes. Then don't lie anymore. A shadow spilled across the stairs, long and wrong, stretching toward them. Thomas pushed Evan toward the steps. Go. Evan stumbled up the stairs as screams erupted behind him. Raw, furious, inhuman. The door slammed shut below. Silence. Then a sound Evan would never forget. The crunch of bone. Evan collapsed onto the kitchen floor, sobbing. Above him, the camera's red light blinked faster. Recording. Always recording. The kitchen lights died all at once. Not flickered. Died. The camera in the corner kept blinking. Its red light the only thing still alive in the room. Evan pushed himself up off the floor, ears ringing, throat raw from crying. The silence felt fake now, like the pause before something lunges. Then the whispering came back, not from the walls, from inside his head. You left him. You always leave. Evan staggered toward the hallway, every muscle screaming. The house felt tighter now, like it had wrapped itself around him while he was downstairs. The stairs groaned. Footsteps followed, bare feet slapping against wood. Too fast. Evan turned just in time to see them spill out of the shadows. 3 figures, skin gray and stretched thin, eyes clouded white. Their mouths moved, but the words came out wrong, layered over each other. Subject relapse. Treatment incomplete. Bring him back. Evan ran. The hallway bent, stretching longer than it should have. Doors slammed shut as he passed them, trapping the screams inside. A hand shot out from a doorway and grabbed his jacket. He twisted, ripping free, leaving fabric behind. The hand stayed extended, fingers twitching like it still expected him to come back. "You can't outrun guilt," Margaret's voice echoed through the house. Evan skidded into the living room. Margaret stood there, not the calm woman from outside. This Margaret looked wrong. Her face was bruised, blood dried at the corners of her mouth. Her eyes were black all the way through, reflecting nothing. "You let him die," she said evenly. Evan backed away. "You sent me down there." "I gave you the choice," she replied. "You made the pattern." The floor beneath them cracked open, revealing darkness below. Hands reached up, clawing at the air, grabbing at nothing. "You don't want justice," Evan said. "You want control." Margaret smiled. "I want permanence." The house roared. Walls split, ceilings peeled back. The carefully curated nightmare fell apart, revealing something older underneath. Symbols carved into beams, blood sealed into the foundation. This place isn't just holding people, Evan realized. It's feeding. Margaret stepped closer, her feet not quite touching the floor anymore. "On belief, on confession, on you." The whispers grew louder, chanting now. "Say it. Say what you did." Evan clutched his head. Memories slammed in full force this time. Him signing approvals knowing sessions had gone too far. Him deleting interview recordings that sounded too bad. Him walking away when Thomas begged him not to. "I helped them hurt people," Evan said, voice breaking. "I called it research." The house shuddered violently. Margaret screamed, not in pain but fury. "That's not enough," she hissed. "You don't get absolution. You get responsibility." The front door burst open. Daylight flooded in again, harsh and unreal. Outside, the street was full now. Cars, people, neighbors watching like nothing was wrong. Margaret pointed. "Walk out. Forget. Let the house reset." Evan looked at the door, then at the darkness clawing up from the floor. "No," he said. Margaret froze. "I'm not your witness," Evan continued, "and I'm not their excuse." He turned and ran deeper into the house instead. Margaret screamed his name as the walls collapsed inward, the house fighting to keep him out or pull him back. Evan sprinted toward the basement door. The place it all started. The place it ended. The house howled. The basement door was already open. That alone told Evan the house had accepted what he was about to do. The stairs shook beneath his feet as he ran down, the walls bleeding dark lines that pulsed like veins. The whispers were screaming now, overlapping, desperate. "Don't. Stay. Finish it." The basement looked different. The shelves were gone. The tapes were gone. In their place stood a single room carved into the foundation itself. Symbols burned into concrete. Names etched so deep they split the walls. Every name he'd seen upstairs. Every name he tried to forget. And one new one, still bleeding fresh. Evan Carter. "No," he whispered. The television flickered on by itself. Footage played. Not Margaret. Not Thomas. Him. Younger. Calm. Certain. "I understand the risks," the Evan on screen said. "But belief needs structure. Fear needs direction. This house can hold it." Present Evan staggered back. "You built it," Margaret's voice said behind him. He turned. She stood at the base of the stairs, fully revealed now. Half her body human, half something bound into the house itself. Veins ran from her skin into the walls like roots. "You weren't just an observer," she continued. "You designed the narrative. You gave suffering a story." Evan's voice shook. "I thought I was exposing them. You were perfecting us." The house roared in approval. The names on the walls began to scream. Faces pushed out of concrete, mouths open, eyes begging. Thomas's face emerged last. Evan fell to his knees. "I can end this," he said. "I can burn it down. Tell the world." Margaret laughed, low and hollow. "The world already knows. They just don't care." She stepped closer, the floor cracking beneath her. "This place survives because people like you give it meaning." Evan looked at the screen again, at himself, at the lie he told so well he believed it. Slowly, he stood. "You're right," he said. I gave it meaning. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, hit record. "My name is Evan Carter," he said. "Clearly, I helped create this house. I helped justify torture, faith-based abuse, psychological destruction. I lied. I profited. I walked away." The walls screamed. Margaret lunged. "Stop." Evan backed toward the center of the room, where the symbols converged. "This place feeds on silence," he continued. "On denial. On witnesses who leave." The foundation cracked open beneath his feet, revealing a pit of darkness that breathed. "So I'm staying." Margaret froze. The house went still. "You can't," she whispered. "It needs you outside." Evan smiled sadly. "No, it needs me inside." He stepped into the pit. The house screamed like a living thing being torn apart. Fire erupted through the walls, not flames, but light. Pure exposure. Truth ripping through structure. Margaret dissolved into the concrete, screaming his name as the symbols burned away. The house collapsed inward, swallowing itself. Above ground, neighbors watched as Briarwood House folded in on itself, sinking into the earth like it had never existed. No explosion, no sound, just absence. Weeks later, the recordings surfaced. Every tape, every approval, every name. The foundation vanished overnight. Executives disappeared. Churches closed doors. No one ever found Evan Carter's body. But sometimes, late at night, people swear they hear a man's voice when standing on that empty lot. Not screaming, not whispering, just telling the truth, over and over, until the ground stays quiet.